Good morning, folks. Wonderful to be practicing with you. Tabiwat asked me to share a Dharma talk this morning, and then this afternoon, after we've been practicing for longer, Ashanda will give the talk and answer questions. So before that, though, last night I introduced the retreat, and many people weren't here yet. So I want to just recover some of the basics of the retreat. It's obviously many of you have been practicing for several hours now. So, but I wanted to just make sure people understood that we would like this to be a silent retreat. And the reason for that is just so people can get as much as possible out of the retreat. The power of a retreat is that there's an extended period of time where we can turn our awareness back on ourselves. And normally in our daily life, our awareness is going here and there and dealing with social commitments and activities and responsibilities. And what a retreat means is you retreat from that and you turn your attention just back to yourself. That's something that we don't frequently have an opportunity to do, for more than just a few minutes in a typical day, right? To get as much as you can out of it, to be able to have that self-awareness continuously is important. So we want to continue the silence during meals too. We cultivate samadhi with our practice, and then go and have a party, and then come back. It interrupts the whole thing, right? So it interrupts the momentum and the energy of our practice. So, and it's respecting other people. So you may say to yourself, well, it's okay. I'll get back on track. I just need to have this conversation. The human brain is wired to tune in to human speech. We've been, that's the way it's been, even probably from when we were in the womb. The brain looks for speech and attention goes towards it. So if you're in the hallway having a conversation, other people's brains are naturally kind of pulled to it. It's harder to turn out speech than it is the cars driving down the road or anything else. So it's not just about protecting your own practice, which is of course really important, but it's about protecting the practice of everybody else that's here. So please help us with that. Right? And if there are people here just for the morning practice, if you could leave in silence too, that would be great. If you're not staying for the retreat, if you're just here for the normal Saturday practice, if you could respect the intent of the retreat and the people that are here for the retreat, and normally we would like to socialize when our practice ends, and be friendly with each other. But today, respect the retreat and be silently. We'll get back to our old ways next week. Right? Also, I should mention that we don't have a formal private interview process this week because it's short. It's just we had last night and tonight, and we couldn't do it last night. It didn't make any sense to start off with private interviews. So we only have this one night, and it's we have a lot of people here. So and it doesn't really make sense. But if you have if something happens in your practice and you want to test your understanding with Ashanda, then by all means, just go to Kavivat and say, I want to talk to Ashanda. and he'll arrange it. So it's kind of as needed guidance, from the teacher. And of course, during the question and answer period, if it's if it feels right for you, you can also bring it up during the question and answer period too. Because that way other people can maybe learn from the question as well. Sound good? So I want to talk about what I talked about at the Zoom class on Monday. I want to review it again because it's relevant, considering we're on a retreat together. And that's the nature of Vipassana itself. So there are two basic faculties of the mind. There's a doing faculty and a knowing faculty. So the doing faculty is, the part of the mind that is the ability of the mind to think, to apply labels and names to things, to make comparisons, to to have emotions, to set intentions, to communicate those intentions to the body, to tell the body to say this or say that, or to do this or that physically. So there's this active part of the mind that is conducting mental action. But then there's also what I'm calling today the knowing part of the mind, which is the faculty of awareness itself. It's that which knows you're thinking or you're walking or you're moving or whatever you're doing. And so just to be clear, the knowing faculty doesn't mean I know Spanish or I know algebra. That's just memory. The knowing faculty is present moment, the capacity to be conscious of something in the present moment. And both these faculties are necessary. But the knowing faculty hasn't been developed, to be able to be in a state of balance with the doing faculty without intentional practice. The knowing faculty or the knowingness is in many ways the preeminent faculty of the mind, because it's what makes us sentient beings. It's what makes us different than a computer coming up with a decision, or from just an inanimate object out there. The knowing faculty is what allows us to know ourselves and to know our nature. And it's also what allows us to know God, or nature, or with a capital N, or emptiness, or the ultimate truth, whatever the doing mind wants to call that thing. The knowingness is what knows it. Right? The ultimate truth is not known by thought. It's not known by our mental actions. The ultimate truth can only be known by the knowing faculty of the mind, but when it's fully developed and fully mature. And then in Buddhist thought, a human being is the only physical being that's capable of developing the knowing faculty to the point where it can know the ultimate truth. So, that's why this human birth is so important. And it's why studying the Dhamma is so important, and practicing to awaken is so important. It's not a vain or self-indulgent pursuit, and despite what any other teachers might say, it's the heart of the Buddhist message, the Buddhist teaching. The Buddha didn't leave home and go on a search to find out how he could help people have less stress in their lives. It's much deeper than that. He left home to find a way. How can one put a final, complete end to stress and suffering by directly knowing the ultimate truth? So, to practice, to develop the knowing faculty to the point that it can do that is, in many ways, the most important thing we can do. Because it's realizing our full potential as a human being. If we don't do that, then we haven't taken full advantage of the human being. And Vipassana is about the intentional cultivation of the knowing faculty. That's what we're here to do on our retreat, is to cultivate that knowing faculty so that it can live up to its full potential. And not only does the knowing faculty, not only is it the fact that the knowing faculty allows us to know the deeper truth of our life and reality, but it also, developing the knowing faculty also helps us live our life more skillfully and with a greater sense of ease. That's because when it's strong enough, it can balance the doing faculty of the mind, the thinking faculty. Because left on its own, the doing mind just fabricates endlessly. Thought fabricates endlessly, and it justifies its fabrications with more fabrications. It's just a circular thing. And it can it can reach really harmful and destructive, conclusions when it fabricates endlessly about conclusions about oneself, or about other people, or about the future, that make us sad, or fearful, or angry, anxious. And not only that, but we often impose that on other people, because the doing part of the mind tells, based on thought, tells the body, tells the tongue to say certain things, it tells the body to take actions. So, people are killed every minute, all around the world because of thought run amok, endlessly run amok, and let's come to this conclusion: this person should die. So it's hard to overestimate the danger in the doing mind running on its own unchecked. When, on the other hand, when the knowing faculty is developed to enough that it can stand alongside the doing part of the mind, and as an independent observer, it's not part of the fabrication. It's naturally tethers the thinking mind back to reality. Otherwise, there's no tether. It just goes wherever. And people come up with crazy stuff. The earth is flat, this and that. I mean, it's just unbelievable. Anything you can think of, people believe, because they can think of it, So but the knowingness is like a tether back to reality. And so developing that faculty of the mind, that the knowing faculty, to be strong enough that it can stand alongside the doing mind, is what balances it. We though to say that, even though the doing, the thinking mind can be said to be the source of all evil and suffering, it doesn't mean it's just a boogeyman, because the thought can also be the source of wholesome actions and words. And we can't live our life without it. The knowing mind can't do your job for you, and raise your family and carry on a conversation, earn a living. Those two parts of the mind need each other. So it's not as simplistic as we just get rid of the doing mind. We need them both, but they need to be in balance with each other. Everybody, the knowingness is there for everybody. Everybody has it, but let me back up. But the doing mind is already well developed for the vast majority of us, because society encourages the development of the thinking mind and the doing mind. The way we're raised, the way we're educated, that's already taken care of. That doing part of the mind is already running on all 6 cylinders. But our society doesn't support the doing, developing the knowing part of the mind, rather. So we have to intentionally cultivate that with our Vipassana practice. Without intentionally cultivating it, the knowingness is just not strong enough, and it just gets merged in with and carried along with the doing mind. So it's like somebody trying to cross a river, and the current is too strong, and it sweeps them off their feet and just carries them down the river. And that's what, without practice, that's what happens to the knowing faculty. The mind just gets swept down the river with the doingness. So we have to strengthen the knowing faculty, and it provides not just it's not just the path to awakening, but it's also the path to having being able to lead a more skillful and happy life, because it can balance out the doing mind, keeps it from just running off on its own. Because we need to, because ultimately the knowingness has to be able to stand alongside the doing faculty and balance it, we cultivate that knowingness alongside the doing mind. If that's the ultimate goal, is that knowingness can stand alongside our doing nature, then we need to cultivate that knowingness in the presence of it. Right? And that's the power of particularly Luang Por Tien's method that we're practicing today. Right? We're setting the intention to establish this knowingness that is observing the doing nature of the mind, while the sense doors are open, while the mind is free to try to think, register perceptions, have feelings. That's the way it has to be done. That's the way we have to develop it. Right? And it might feel uncomfortable to try to develop present moment awareness in the presence of a mind is free to think. But growth is sometimes uncomfortable. And again, that's where we need to get to. If we want to have that knowingness alongside us in our, as we live our life, and kind of be our protector. So this retreat is a great opportunity to do this. Right? And during this retreat, you're doing part of the mind is going to come up with all kinds of stuff. Oh, I'm too tired, I ate too much, I'm too sleepy, I can't stay awake. And it's not, and we're not judging it or condemning it or judging it. It's just notice that all this stuff is happening. Oh, or a thought might come up, I got too much going on in my life, I got all these problems I got to fix, maybe I should go home a little bit early and work on my problems. There's, or it's too noisy outside, or somebody blowing their leaves or whatever, why doesn't that stop? All kinds of things are going to come up, when we do a retreat. And so it's a great opportunity to sort of establish this intention that whatever's coming up, that's the doing part of the mind. It's always going to be concocting stuff. And we're not trying to shut it down or condemn it or judge it in any way, but can I encourage the knowingness to stand alongside of it and just know it, and without being involved in the fabrication itself. So we have this kind of extended period of time to do that. And it's a rare opportunity for most of us. We're not monastics. We can't spend, most of us can't spend the day meditating. So anyway, so I just wanted to, I think I'm running out of the topic. but so I'm looking forward to doing this together with you, to strengthening our knowing faculty together, and helping each other with that, and so that we can maybe you can see the truth, while you're here, or at the very least, your knowingness will be stronger, so that the thinking mind and the doing mind won't be as wild and when we leave. So we have a few minutes for a conversation together. Does that make sense? So what I said? Was it confusing? Yeah.
Just have a reflection on what you said. I stepped up my own practice maybe 4 months ago quite a bit. And so in my meditation spot and also here, I kind of inquired, how do I know when the awareness is maximal? Because it does seem to be a place where the awareness is maximal, and so efficiently trying to activate that has been part of my practice. And one thing I've noticed is that when it seems to be maximal, I have a certain physical feeling, and I'm saying, well, why do I have to always have this physical feeling associated with that? Why can't it just be by itself? So I don't know if that makes any sense to you, but I can't really describe the state of what it's like to be maximally aware as much as I can personally be. But there is a physical sensation associated with it.
What's the sensation?
It's kind of like something about the way my head feels. I can't be more specific than that. But when I'm there, that's how I know. It's almost like that's conditioned. I don't know how else to describe it. So I'm just saying that in case anyone else has had that I don't ever seem to be not part of my body as this process is going on.
Yeah. So I'm not sure how to respond to that. I mean, I don't. Um, it's not about dissociating from yourself. You know, it's. I mean, the eye is different than the ear, but they work. You know, we have them both, and they're part of us. You know, doesn't they're separate, but they're not separate. You know, or the eye and the brain are separate, but not totally separate. You know, they're distinguishable. You know, we need, you know, the thinking mind and the knowing mind are both the mind. You know, and it's just that one part of it. It just hasn't been exercised, hasn't been developed. It's just atrophied. You know, because our society doesn't ask us to develop it. Our parents didn't ask me to develop it. School didn't ask me to develop it. You know, work doesn't ask me to develop it. You know, it hasn't been. No, nothing has asked us to develop that until now.
I do think, Michael, that for me, sort of, and this may be similar, when the doing mind is sort of in control, you know, the body releases certain chemicals, right? Because you're ruminating and ruminating. And when you have that mindfulness of mind, that awareness, that knowing mind, I do feel it in the body because the chemicals change. I don't know exactly what it is physiologically, but the body does feel different, right, from when you have that. And it's often just momentary, because maybe the awareness is not strong enough, but when you have that awareness, that mindfulness mind, you do feel it in the body.
Well, you feel calmer, right?
Yeah.
Less activated.
And that's in the body.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. No, I can see that and agree with that. But, yes.
I think it's important that you don't have to have that feeling to have that. That could be your experience, but I don't think that necessarily you have to have a physical sensation to know that you're in the which you agree with that.
Yeah, you don't have to. You don't have to have anything. but I think I wasn't sure if Leanne was speaking about something a little bit different. You know, if the knowingness is balancing the doing mind, then you're going to be calmer. You know, and you're not going to be, you know, going on an adrenaline rush. You know, and so yeah, I think you don't have to feel that, but it's understandable that the body would feel calmer. You know, because it's not getting those hormones that Andy referred to, being released into the bloodstream. I wasn't sure if that was what Leanne was saying. I thought you were saying something a little bit different.
You know, I can really attest to the fact that everyone in my life has noticed that I'm just very calm now that I've spent so much time doing this. It's made a huge difference.
So it's, as we go through the retreat, it's good to just to encourage that. That's cultivation of a knowingness. It's good to just see whatever is happening in the body mind that kind of is interesting. You know, when even when it's doing something you think it shouldn't be doing on a retreat, like like thinking about what you got to do next week, you know, when you get back home and all the, you know, the people you got to talk to or whatever. And you know, the knowingness can just say, oh, look, you know, it's not going to say anything, but say, oh, look, this is in spirit. You know, look at the, look at what Leanne's mind is doing now, thinking about, you know, planning next week, and just see with interest, you know, and it's, that's how we grow it to be strong. It doesn't have to. It's not about that knowing, just judging the other part of the mind or smacking it down, or just being able to stand there with it to balance it, to stabilize it. Oh, I think it's time for lunch, right? Thank you all.
Michael, can you sit for a while?
Hmm?
To take your photo is very beautiful. The sun shine from your back.
Okay.